The Silence, a veteran podcast, aimed to amplify the voices of veterans, create a safe space for authentic conversations about their experiences, challenges, and triumphs. We seek to break the stigma surrounding mental health and foster a community for support, resilience, and understanding through stories, expert insights, and candid discussions. We strive to inspire healing, promote awareness, and empower veterans on their journeys. Welcome. All right.
You want to kind of be...
Yeah.
Well, I'm deaf too, so it helps to get close.
I'm glad. All right. So, welcome back to... what are we calling this thing? Ethos of Silence?
Ethos of Silence.
There we go.
Yeah.
Ethos of Silence.
That's us.
There we go. There we are.
I'm in the mic this time.
All right, Kevin.
Everybody hear me this time?
Well, we got Derrick here. Derrick, take me through your training, man. What you got going on? You're a Jarhead like me, right?
Welcome.
Yep. Went to Paris Island.
Island.
February 17th, 2004.
February 04. All right. Well, I graduated January 05, so cool.
Third squad, second to last. Yellow footprints.
There you go. Kevin, ask him about your shark attack thing. Come on.
Oh yeah, did you get drilled when you get off the bus, or was it like, hey, how you doing? Come on in, here's some snacks.
He threw me off.
Put it this way.
I was asking. I had to know.
Not
People
trying to avoid profanity, but it was like, what the fuck did I get myself into this time?
Shocking. It was a shock.
Oh, shock. That's an understatement, because it was like, late at night. It's probably like 2, 3 in the morning. Roll through that. You're on the bus. You're not supposed to be looking up, but everybody is. And you see that front gate that says Paris Island, Marine Corps Recruit Depot, and it's like, oh, shit. There's no turning back now. I'm all in. Mm-hmm. And I like to tell people that Paris Island Marine Corps boot camp was 3 months in absolute hell. Because it's as soon as you get off the bus and all the drill instructors are running around, you're running around, getting yelled at. Life as you know it is done. You will never be the same. But I would do it again. In a heartbeat. Knowing what I know. Somebody asked me, if knowing what I know now, would I do it again? I said, in a heartbeat.
Of course.
Wouldn't think twice about it.
Your world just kind of shuts down when you get through that gate.
Oh yeah,
it's like
definitely.
Whatever you knew back then is gone.
But when you're standing tall on the Petrus parade deck, and they say the company first sergeant tells the senior drill instructors to dismiss your platoons, you literally feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof. Like,
what a relief.
Yeah.
See, and that's ethos. So ethos is the ideology that the Marine Corps has bestowed upon you, and it's almost like, I hate to call it a religion, but it's a religion. It's
literally.
It's I bought into this cult's mentality. Like the Vikings going on their voyages, the Spartans all making their Felix fighting side by side.
Oh, yeah,
that is ethos, right?
Very
so, and I mean
Spartans.
that's exactly what we're talking about with ethos, right? So ethos is the fun part. It's the Marine Corps. It's the training. It's all that fun stuff. All right. So you went to Paris Island. Mm-hmm. Where'd you go to school after that? Or even better, so I didn't dig in too much into what Marine Corps combat training was like, right? So were you in the infantry? Did you go to SI or you went to MCT?
I went to MCT at Camp Geiger.
Okay. So how was that?
It really wasn't too bad. Because, obviously at that point you had earned the title, so the pace was technically a little bit slower. But then again, it wasn't, because you had so much stuff to do in a short time period. But we did stuff like land nav, NBC stuff, and we did night land nav.
That's nuclear, biological, chemical training for those who don't know.
Gas chamber, in layman's terms.
Oh, that's fine. We should talk about that a little bit.
Funny story about land nav, but we can get to that later. But there was a lot of hikes.
A lot of hikes. I remember that. A lot of hikes.
That's where the co-ed training started.
Okay.
With females and,
Yeah, I mean that brings its own unique set of obstacles, right?
Slinky effect. Bad. Really bad slinky effect. I mean, nothing against the female Marines, but I hated doing hikes with them because I don't know, it seemed like most of them were short.
Yeah.
And they couldn't keep up pace with the rest of us, so we would get the slinky effect.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But
so I'm seeing a lot of connection here.
What?
And one that I just picked up was the NBC. So was your NBC like ours? It's a big building. It's a couple of NCOs in there that may or may not had a good day that day, and you all get marched into the room. They file out a big old expungement of smoke, and you're stuck in there. Pull your mask off, and breathe in, breathe out.
When we did our gas chambers, they basically had what amounted to a 50 caliber ammo can. And they'd have the burner underneath it, heating it up, and they would just start popping capsules.
Right.
Now, once I got to my unit, our NBC, our warrant officer, when he was still enlisted, he was NBC, so he would gas the ever-loving shit out of us. To put it lightly, the Navy could go in there the next day and not even pop capsules and do their gas chamber qual.
So he needed to vent a whole lot, and he was doing it to you guys.
Oh yeah.
So you marched in, you filed in your whole unit or your whole battalion marched in.
Just
close the doors, pull your mask off.
Well, no, there was that chamber at my home base was small, so even just at a platoon level, you had to go in sticks.
Yeah. Because
it was so small, and I remember one of the last times we did range qual, they said, or the gas qual, everybody's done. We're standing around, just smoking and joking, so to speak, and they all say, one of the higher ups comes out and goes, "Don and clear your gas mask, get back in the chamber." We're like,
yeah.
Yeah, they decided to do awards and promotions inside the chamber that day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. Well, that's something both of the branches have in common, Army and the Marines. So
everybody does it. I'm sure the Air Force, I'm sure they. I'm sure they do some type of training.
Air Force probably gets little smoke grenades, like from the Black Cat, pop firecrackers.
Now, I will say,
kidding, guys.
The
gentleman's.
We did a gas chamber at Camp Lejeune, and you walk in, and normally their chambers were brutal because at the top of the wall it said, "Even the brave cry here."
Yep.
Good memory, man.
We did. Our gas chambers were not your normal gas chamber quals because we would do Blue Falcon drills. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Take your mask off.
Details.
Take your canister off. Play Ring Around the Rosie. Take it off. Put it on your buddy's mask. All kind of weird little drills. And after a while, it got to, we'd walk in, we'd be looking around like, all right, who's passing out today? And usually every gas chamber qual, we were dragging at least 2 to 3 people out, especially the new guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
snotting and crying.
I'm not going to,
pissing.
After a while, you kind of get used to it, so you really don't get that much.
Yeah.
All right. So you did MCT at Camp Geiger, right? So where'd you go to school at? What was your actual MOS in the Marine Corps? What did you actually do?
Well,
right.
First, I was supposed to be a 2141.
All right, what's that?
AAV repair.
What's the AAV?
Amphibious assault vehicle.
Okay, that's the Striker, or is that the?
No. Like, you know how I showed you the big fan boat thing that came off the back of the Mew?
Yeah.
One of those, right? So it's an amphibious, so it's a water assault vehicle, and the Marine Corps has different types of them for the different types of water assault things they're going to do. But you still have somebody who performs the maintenance on them, right? So he was going into an MOS to do the maintenance on them, and then they were going to specify which one he gets on because we do
vehicles.
Yeah. Okay. So we specify on what we get into, right?
Yeah, that's an AAV with the Eco Up armor kit on it.
Yeah, I see it on the side. Yeah, I saw those out there.
And they got different variants. They've got command variants. They've got the recovery with it's got a big wrecker boom and all that on it.
These been around for a while, haven't they?
Vietnam.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this particular style has been around since Vietnam, but the AAVs have been around, oh, good Lord, a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
I mean, they used to be called the LVTs. But anyway.
He's going to ask you, did you find any of the old Vietnam AAVs when you hit Iraq? Like the old stuff? No.
It was all that stuff was gone. But I didn't make swim qual at the island because my ankle was messed up at the time. So
you didn't qualify to be a maintainer on something that lands amphibiously, so you didn't make the higher level of swim qual to get to it. Yeah.
So
I had some buddies who went in with me. They were supposed to be the same MOS and go into the air wing with me, and we were hoping we'd be stationed in the same spot, and they couldn't make the level of swim qual to qualify to be in the air wing. Because you go on carriers and different stuff like that, LHAs, LHDs, all those other different things. So
I'd be like class 2.
You had to get the class 3.
Oh, at least 3. Yeah, you needed at least 3 for 2141 as well.
Which I mean, if you're wounded in boot camp and you're struggling through an injury, and of course you're not going to let them roll you backwards, you're going to go through all the training. I understand not being able to make swim qual 3 if you're not at at least 95% going into that.
And it
didn't help that the boot that they threw me didn't fit all the way.
Oh, imagine
either,
that.
Which obviously you're going to get thrown a set of boots, make it work. Well, I tried and. There's
not a bone sticking out. Keep going.
That was basically the Marine Corps mentality.
Oh, yeah.
And even if you did have a bone sticking out, Doc would give you some Motrin and tell you to change your socks and hydrate.
That's it.
No, it's Army, too. That's literally the story of what did my dad's feet in. Since I was a kid, they gave him a size and a half too small in Fort Polk boot camp going to Vietnam, getting trained for it. His feet are screwed. Like they're
not going to imagine.
So I know what you're talking about as far as your boots getting. When you're done, you're done.
But
screw you up bad.
I ended up signing a new contract at the island for 0621, which was.
So how did that go? How much negotiation room do you have whenever you're at Parris Island? Right? They didn't just make you open contract and say, okay, we'll deal with you after you become a Marine.
Oh no. Zero negotiation at the island. But it gets better because I was not a radio operator. But I signed the paperwork at the island to be an 0621 field radio operator, school at 29 Stumps.
That's a lovely desert with nothing there.
Dump. I went one time. It's a dump.
Yeah, I had to stay out there 6 weeks for sergeant's course, and then I've done a couple workups out there. And,
I went one time just to get a 7-ton and go back to Pendleton. But anyway,
there's nothing there.
Yeah, fast forward.
Hot, nothing there. Dusty. What were we talking about?
29 Stumps is in the middle of a California desert. It's right outside Joshua Tree?
I can't remember exactly.
Joshua Tree is the national park that it's right outside of.
Okay.
Think of Iraq, but less trash on the road, and you have 29 palms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But moving forward, I got the picture now.
Fast forward through the rest of boot camp, through MCT.
Yeah.
Well, here's where things got interesting. We're done with MCT. We're getting our orders on where we're going next. All of my class, their orders had them going to their MOS school. I look at mine. My orders had me going to my unit.
Well, that's cool.
It was weird because I was the only one in the class that had that set up.
I wish they'd have sent me to my unit before they sent me to school, so I had an idea of what the hell I was doing. Send me to my unit for a month instead of sending me to Paris or out to Pensacola. I sat in Pensacola for 6 months waiting to do anything. Send me to my unit, man. Send me over there. But I understand the Marine Corps is crazy. Anyways,
a little bit. So I go to my unit, and they weren't sure what to do with me. So they effectively sent me home, back here to Louisiana. So anyway, I'm sitting around the house just twiddling my damn thumbs, and all of a sudden, phone rings.
You didn't sign up to be a reservist at all, right? So you're on active duty, and they send you home.
I was on active duty at the time.
Okay. Right.
But I was in a reserve unit.
Okay.
And my recruiter put me down as a reservist, but the caveat is I had more active duty time than reserve time. In my 6-year contract, I had roughly 4 years of active duty. Because 2 deployments, MOS school, all the workups and whatnot.
Yeah.
So anyway, phone rings. They tell me I'm going back to 2141. Then they realize I didn't make swim qual. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141. 2141 So then my company first sergeant calls me up. He goes, you need to decide when you want to go to radio operator school. And what I said next, I don't know if it was bravery, stupidity, or a combination of the two. But here I am, private, hadn't even been in the Corps 6 months yet. And I told First Sergeant Holcomb that I wasn't going. And then after I said it, I'm like, did you really just say that to him?
Of course, right?
But he hit me with a curveball and said, why not? I said, I grew up with a wrench in my hand. Mechanic work is all I know at this point. I said, if I'm going to serve my country, I need to be in a mechanic position. He goes, let me call you back. Stay by the phone. So probably about an hour goes by, phone rings. He goes, hey, I'm losing my motor T mechanic this summer. He said, if I can get you in the next available seat, would you be cool with that? I said, yeah.
Hell yeah.
So he goes, stay by the phone. So about another hour goes by, phone rings again. It's First Sergeant Holcomb. He goes, all right, you're in. I got you in the next available seat. Now this is mid-July. I didn't have to be at Camp Johnson until September 1st. He said, don't do anything. Don't get a job. Don't leave your house without me knowing. I was like, okay. He goes, you have, and this is word for word, you have your ass standing tall in your greens at Camp Johnson on September 1st, or me and you going to have a problem. I said, roger that. And somebody said, well, what did you do? Since it was mid-July, I said, that's the fun part. I stayed at home. I stayed at home, rode my four-wheeler all day, every day for a month and a half. And I said the best part about it, active duty paycheck the whole time. I said the Marine Corps was paying me to go screw around in the woods.
Well, I mean, they were paying you as a private, but
yeah, I mean, still, I was getting paid.
It's something, and at least I'm home with everybody else and just relaxing a little bit before I get Delta Green weenie. So that's nice.
Yeah, little did I know that when I showed up at Camp Johnson on September 1st, 2004, that would be the start of a year and a half, almost 2 year long shitstorm. Because about halfway through MOS school, I get a call from our admin chief, Gunny Banks, and he goes, we got put on alert, right? I said, what does that mean? He goes, we're on deck to go over to Iraq. He said, how you feel about that? I said, well, that's what I signed up for. Let's do it. I said, I ain't bashful. I said, I figure I'm going to do at least one deployment while I'm in anyway, so let's get it started. And sure enough, I graduated December 15th, 2004. 2 weeks later, the MOB process started. And exactly 3 months after I graduated MOS school, I put boots on the ground in Iraq. And good God, that first deployment was absolute hell on earth.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So what month did you end up? So let's see. They probably flew y'all into Kuwait with all your gear.
Camp Victory, I think is what it was called.
Yeah, Camp Victory in
It was called
Kuwait.
something else the first time in 05, and then when we went in 08, it was Camp Victory.
Yeah.
Which that place was nice.
Yeah.
If you've ever been there,
Yeah. I went
nice.
through there in 07, 08.
That place was really nice.
The first time I went through there, they still had tent cities. They didn't have nice stuff. But when y'all got there, they still had like hot meals and hot showers.
Oh no, they had full on chow halls, PXs.
Yeah.
It was. They even had the USO building, which was.
Yeah.
Good Lord, that was an experience in
Kuwait's
itself.
heavenly.
Yes, it was.
And in comparison to what you're about to go into,
Yeah, exactly.
of course.
It's like the calm before the storm,
right?
So to speak.
Yeah.
But I think we were there 3-4 days.
Of course.
And then
It don't last long. We can't give the Marines too much,
Yeah. But then we got on
that.
the C-130, or as I call it, the Vomit Comet.
Yep. Because they do that damn combat landing every fucking time coming in.
Every time I see somebody post a picture of a C-130 on Facebook, I'm like, fuck that goddamn thing.
I hear you.
I could go the rest of my life without ever seeing one, and I'd be okay with it.
Which tarmac did y'all first set down on? Did you go to Balad or Baghdad or?
No, we went straight to Al-Assad.
Al-Assad, okay.
Al-Assad Air Base, and it was in
Most
western
where the Marine
Anbar province.
bases we're at was Al-Assad.
That's the Marine Corps Air Base right there. That's its second largest base in all of Iraq right there for the military.
Good old Camp Cupcake.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a reason it was called Camp Cupcake.
Is that right?
We had, keep up. We had green beans coffee.
Mm-hmm.
We had Subway.
Mm-hmm.
We had Pizza Hut.
Mm-hmm.
We had Burger King.
Wow.
There was a beauty parlor by the Big PX.
Yep.
The beauty
Funny-
parlor?
Funny story. I had money to burn and nothing to do, so I wanted to see why women get facials. Dude, that you should try that. That I hadn't shaved in like 3 days. My face was like smooth as glass. It was great.
Yeah,
But anyway,
it's good stuff.
we also had an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That was great. Indoor swimming pool at that. And I think we had somewhere between 4 and 6 different dining facilities to choose from.
So 3 days is just absolute bliss. You're going walking back and forth.
No. He's not talking about 3 days. 3 days.
This was at Al-Assad?
3
Yes,
days.
this is at Al-Assad.
3 days is at
was
Kuwait.
7, and then you go to Al-Assad and get this?
Al-Assad is where is where he was stationed.
Al-Assad, you think the base in Kuwait was nice. Al-Assad puts it to shame. Only now at Al-Assad, now you got to worry about the random Hajis throwing rocks at you.
I'm sorry, I was feeling bad for you guys before.
Oh, no, dude.
Shit for you guys now.
Get on an air base, dude. They know how to conduct a war zone. I mean, we would do where our cans was exactly 1.5 miles from the pool, so we would do 1.5 mile PT run to the pool, stay there for about an hour and a half, and then 1.5 mile run back.
Nice easy run back.
Easy day.
When hell freezes. Unless you were smart enough to bring dry clothes to run back in, which I wasn't that smart.
Depending on the time of the year, huh?
No. You're talking about Marines here.
Right.
Talking about Marines. Calm down.
Well,
I mean, I know not all of them are, but Marines are stupid.
Yeah, we are.
A lot of them are stupid.
Nah,
You can literally walk around on a Marine Corps base and just randomly look at different Marines like, yep, that's an ASVAB waiver. Especially if you're around infantry. 'Cause, I mean, all the infantry Marines that I've been around, they're like one step up from Neanderthals.
yeah, I think that's flat out infantry.
But
But you could actually take that whole.
that's
geometric
literally where
ruler
the box of crayon memes
and
come
take it.
from. That's it.
You could put it in.
That's
the
it.
infantry
They're on
for
the short
Army.
bus eating the fucking crayons.
Army-
That's what
Well,
we're
see,
doing.
Army infantry wasn't too far or sideways. from
Every
that.
Marine Corps birthday, I always get tagged in shit.
Of course.
Like a buddy of mine, he was Army, and he's at Halloween. He sends me a picture of a pumpkin with a Marine Corps woodland cover, and the mouth has a bunch of crayons in it. I'm like, okay,
Yep.
Yeah, that's it's appropriate.
it is.
It is.
That's
I resemble that.
well, I'll usually, if I'm on my A game, I'll usually flip the script on him and come back with a bigger insult than the one he sent me, and he's like, "You weren't supposed to do that."
All right. So,
Al-Assad's a
so
field
you
trip.
done heard about Camp Cupcake? You there? You experienced Camp Cupcake. What's that first deployment like? What you got going on?
Well, the first deployment, I was on the mobile assault section.
Okay.
We basically went out looking for something to get into. But once we stood up the map section, I think the longest I was at Al-Assad was like 3 days.
Okay.
In between ops, we were constantly going in and out, and it made the time go by.
So map section, what kind of technology were you working with? What kind of crazy stuff were y'all able to do? Were you able to actually download stuff that y'all got, like video and shit that you came out with, come back, build a 3D war space, like almost a video game out of it? Or like what kind of stuff were you able to get? Because, I mean, I know toward 07, 08, when I was there, the lightning pods, we were flying, we were getting videos of area, and like,
No, we didn't
were,
have all
were,
that.
were you getting any decent intel? All you had was the little Blue Force trackers that were more of a pain in the ass than anything else, and you'd cut them off because they're fucking annoying?
Yep. Now,
All right.
I will say the second deployment, we had the IED jammer systems
Okay.
on all the trucks. We didn't have that the first time.
Okay.
And we also didn't really have, I mean, we had armored vehicles, if you want to call them that, but they were more soft-skinned than anything. I mean, our 50 cals could easily punch, especially if you were using like Sabo rounds or API, or if you managed to get a hold of some Raufoss rounds or something.
Yeah.
But the second deployment, we actually had the legitimate up-armored stuff.
That's awesome.
Because we had actually sent one out to get up-armored in 2005, and we got it back just before we left. And the difference in armor is mind-boggling. But
in the time that y'all come back in 05 before you go back in 07, they were able to get all the vehicles up armored, ready to roll.
Oh yeah,
ready to go back.
Everything was up armored. And the second deployment, we actually had the MRAPs.
Okay.
From Force Protection Industries, because a lot of people don't realize there's different companies that make MRAPs, and they're all considered MRAP vehicles. But we had the V-bottom ones. We had the 4-wheel, and the 6 wheels, which we actually had.
Military grade, lowest bidder makes you a bunch of shit.
We actually had a few of them go down for needed axle replacements, so we would take them over to regimental motor T, and they would call us the next morning to come get it.
Oh wow!
Because those MRAPs were modular. I was talking to one of the FSRs for Force Protection Industries, and he said they had an MRAP that got hit twice in 4 days. He said the first IED it hit blew the transfer case completely out of it. He said it was back out on the op the next day, and he said,
cool.
Then the day after that, it hit another IED and it blew the intermediate axle out. He said once again, next morning it was back on the road.
So how do y'all get them back whenever they get hit? You tow them back? You able to?
Typically, you tow them back. Usually a MTVR wrecker or an LVS wrecker would come out, hook to it, and tow it back. I mean, sometimes they'll do a lift tow, or they'll just if the running gear is still in good shape, sometimes they'll do a flat tow and just disconnect the drive shafts, so you're not destroying about a $40,000 electronic transmission.
Yeah.
But a lot of times the damage was so severe they had to lift tow them. And you could either do it from the front or the back. But we really didn't have too many MRAPs go down, except we had the one that flipped over. They had a culvert collapse. It laid over on its side, which, funny thing, they said the comms were working better when it was laying on its side. It's like, that's Marine Corps equipment for you.
That's it. It
was grounded.
You figure out how to make it all work.
It was grounded so they
and it work. Actually didn't really do much damage to the vehicle. I had to replace the passenger side fender, the exhaust, and the drag link on the front end. And then obviously had to make sure the front end was square again, make sure it was all alignment. But it took it like a champ, because we drove it around for a little while, just around Al Assad.
So were you originally on a 6-year contract, or did you decide to re-enlist or extend or anything like that to be able to go out with the guys in 07? Or, I mean, what kind of happened with all that?
It was 6 years.
6 year?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that recruiter got you good then, huh?
Yeah. So I did the 05 deployment. Came home. 06 was uneventful. And then toward the end of 07, I was sitting at the house. I'm like, let me go check the mail. And I opened the mailbox, and I immediately slammed the mailbox shut. Like, God damn it. I saw that envelope, and I knew what it was without even looking at it.
What was it?
I pull the envelope out, and on one corner it says Department of Defense. I'm like, son of a bitch, I know what's in this envelope. And sure enough,
come on, man, you sure it's not your DD-214?
I opened it up. I was like, I hope this is not what I think it is, but I guarantee you it is what I think it is. So I opened it up, and it said, you have been involuntarily recalled. Which somebody said, what does that mean? I said, in layman's terms, that's the president's way of telling you to pack your shit. You're going back to the sandbox.
So like right now.
Like, literally, pack your shit and get ready.
Whatever you're doing, drop it. You're going here.
Yep.
I don't care what plans you got, what dates you got, what's on your calendar, you're done.
Yep. That's like, I told people, like, when you're in the military, you can't make plans. Because if something comes down the line, you drop what you're doing.
See, I didn't even know that side of it. I didn't know that they sent out letters.
Oh yeah,
I got. So were you like an inactive ready reserve at this time, or were you considered?
Well, no, IRR is basically when you're
you've done your
end of
contract.
Active service.
Right.
So like my 6 years. I mean, you sign up for a total of 8.
Right.
But I had
for
my
the
6.
country.
I had my 6 active and then 2 inactive, and that's where the IRR is.
Is that where they called you in the letter? Was in that IRR bracket?
No. I still had a little over 2 years left when I got that letter.
So were you living off base or something whenever they sent it, or you was already back? Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I was here in Louisiana.
Okay, I got you.
Which the second deployment, my God, I hated that.
Well, that was when things getting really, really freaking hot.
No, not for me.
No,
but
there was more of the rebels coming from different sections in Syria, and they joined forces at that time.
By my second deployment, I was the only person in my entire battalion with my job, so they didn't let me out to play, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So for 8 months, I stayed under a truck.
Sounds like that first sergeant who swindled you into having that job really gets a good pat on his back for having somebody in the company who's able to actually do everything, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
for sure. You're not going
being the only person in the entire battalion for 3 years with your job, it does have its perks. You tend to be able to get away with stuff.
Oh yeah.
But it also had its drawbacks. Like, you start work you wake up at 5 a.m., get to the shop by 7. Sometimes work till 2, 3 in the morning. Go back to your can, get about 2 hours of sleep, wake up, do it all over again for 8 months in a row. 8 months straight, no days off. And everybody was wondering why when I got home.
So that's how long your rotation was 8 whole months?
Yeah, I went advanced party the second time, being the only mechanic, because I had to help get all the vehicles ready to go, which...
what does that look like from a Motor T standpoint of going advanced party? I mean, what can you do advanced if just all the vehicles don't show up until everybody else shows up?
Well,
or
it's basically like taking all of the bunch of the vehicles that need in detailed repairs. Like as soon as I started operating advanced party, my first day, I was pulling a transmission and transfer case out of a Humvee.
Okay, is that some of the Humvees that belong to the other unit that you're coming in there and replacing?
Yeah, that was the company we were relieving. It was some of theirs, and I remember that one, and it was the only one I ever had to pull the transmission and transfer case out, because we fought like hell getting it back in, in about, I would say, almost midnight, we finally got it in, just to realize that we didn't have the linkage in the right place. So the transmission wasn't acting right. So luckily, I can't remember if it was me or the other mechanic that I was relieving, one of us was able to snake our arm over to where the linkage connected to the transmission, and we were able to set it properly and finally got it working. I think that was 1 or 2 in the morning by the time we got that thing done. I hated Humvees. I still hate them because they were the biggest pain in the ass to work on.
Tell me a little bit about your mindset and your transition coming back from that first deployment.
The first deployment, coming back from the first one.
And tell me a little bit more about the first deployment. You were actually out
operating constant.
You were moving across Baghdad. You were Baghdad.
No,
Mosul,
we
Tikrit,
stayed
Balad.
We stayed in Western Anbar province.
Okay.
So we would go.
Well, that's not too far from Balad.
We went one op. We left Al Assad. We were escorting a platoon of 5 Abrams and an M88, which I said, why are we escorting them? When just one of them has more armor than all 4 of us put together.
Yeah, it's interesting how they...
That way you're the distraction.
Huh?
That way you're the distraction.
Basically, they said we were the...
You're the decoys.
I just said that. It's interesting how they set that up.
Yeah.
The way it was put to me, they said, basically, we're the bug spray. We're keeping the bugs off of them. You know, Because that particular op, we went from Al-Assad to the Jordanian border and back. We watched the sun come up in the windshield, and we watched it go back down in the windshield. Well, there was, I think, 4 or 5 suspected car bombs. And what we would do when we'd get to one is the 88 would hook to it, drag it, I don't know, 300-400 yards out into the desert, unhook from it, and then crush it. And just run it over until it was flat.
Really?
Yes. And then there was a few of them. Thankfully, there was a few of them that was too big for the 88 to run over, so we were treated to a very expensive fireworks show, as I call it.
Yeah, they weren't too worried about that thing going off in the 88. Huh?
Oh, no. There's a reason that thing's called Hercules.
Oh, wow.
If it was too big for the 88 to run over, that's when you would see the 5 M1A1s literally in unison pivot 90 degrees left. And then you'd see those main guns start coming down. That's like I tapped my driver on the shoulder. I said, "Dude, you're about to see one hell of a show."
Yeah.
And then you ever heard of the phrase "talking guns"?
I think so.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The M1A1s would start doing talking guns going down the line, and they would probably do 2 main gun rounds apiece.
Yeah.
And then the 88. Well, actually, before the A1s would start lighting it up with main gun rounds, the 88 would get back to the highway. But once they were done, they'd pivot 90 degrees right, and we'd go on to the next one. And like I said, we did that all the way to the Jordanian border and back.
Nice.
And
right on.
that was probably one of the longer ops, even though it was a one-day op. But I'm talking continuous movement.
Yeah.
That was a long day.
Was it hot days back then?
Oh,
100-something degree weather?
120, 130.
You can't keep a bottle of water cool.
No, I learned how to keep a bottle of water cool by putting it in the sun.
Did you put your sock around it?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I knew there was other
the
people
black
doing
sock. Black sock worked best, and I had to explain that trick to somebody. They said, "How does that work?"
It doesn't make sense.
I said, "What you do is you put your sock, or put your bottle of water in the sock, then you soak the sock in water." And I said, then you set it on the roof of your Humvee, or just set it out in the sun somewhere.
Cool wind.
And I said, what happens is the sun and the heat will evaporate the water out of the sock, thus pulling the heat out of the water. And I said, what is the absence of heat?
That's right.
I said, it's pretty basic science experiment.
Yeah. It's basic Marine Corps logic. If you can't follow this, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
But the thing is, it makes it just drinkable. It's not like people don't understand. You don't have water out there that's drinkable. It makes it just where you can drink it. That's
now,
it.
if you really wanted to get it cool, you could do that cycle a couple of times, and they would actually get it.
Yeah.
About like what it would be if it was sitting right here on this table.
Yeah,
that's about it.
But
and that's a luxury too at that point.
Yeah.
Water.
Well, there was one op where we took over an ice factory.
They got the ice.
We took over all kind of different buildings.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Some of the houses we would hole up in during the day. Sometimes you're like, what in the hell?
What can we find today?
Oh, trust me, I went snooping through one of the houses. I mean, we walk in, big marble staircases, marble floors. I'm like, I told my vehicle commander, I said, I'm going for a walk. I'm going to scope this place out.
I hear you.
And I'm like, damn, this house is better than mine.
Interesting stuff you see there, huh?
Oh, yeah. And did even more interesting stuff than that. But
you could talk about whichever one you want. Whatever cool shit did you see? Did you end up making it to any of the big Saddam's big palaces?
No, sadly, no.
Well, but it sounded like you were in some of the houses. It might have been some of his higher officers or something like that.
Very well. The one with the marble staircases and floors, very well could have been. Cause
you don't get that stuff unless you are. If you're Fedayeen or you're the Capitol Guard, then you can get that stuff.
So, all right, we can jump into some cool
derailed
deployment stories on the next one.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me, tell me about coming back. You know, what was your mindset coming out of being in a war zone to where you were on high alert the whole time, you were working on everything? What was your mindset coming home, and what type of resources did the reservist unit allot to you as far as like time and everything else to kind of reset between this first deployment and then opening the mailbox, be like, really, I'm the only guy and we're going back?
Yeah, well, considering everything that I did and everything that I saw, it was not good.
No, I mean, it takes a toll. I'm aware it takes a toll.
It was bad.
It's a drain.
It was bad for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Okay.
Constantly arguing with everybody, snapping randomly for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
Not sleeping, constantly just waking up out of a dead sleep, like not knowing where I was or how I got there.
Yeah.
And it took forever to get over that. And then right as life is starting to return to normal is when I got the letter that I was going back. I'm like,
you want to say it's returning to normal, but I mean, there's really any
reasonable facsimile of normal. But I mean, once you join the Marine Corps, there is no set definition of normal.
No, but
I just wasn't being shot at anymore, basically.
Right. But like you told me before, you do it all over again.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's just trying to process the things I went through.
Of course.
What's it look like when your unit comes back from that deployment? You get on the plane, you're leaving home, hoorah, the trip's over with. You see 117, see 130, whatever. You're flying back across the pond. Where do you go? You go Scotland, you go Dover, Delaware, then you go back home. Walk me through that, and then what it's like. Was there people greeted you in the United States when you got home?
Well,
was there people in the garrison when you got back to your units that were triaging you guys for medic? Okay, take me from that. Take me a quick minute or two.
What kind of resort are you talking about over here, Kev?
You know, it's very close to what I'm telling you from the first story, right? But it was.
Oh yeah, I'm
stuff
aware.
I didn't receive. So
we didn't get jack shit.
Couple minutes you're coming home. All right, you take the plane home.
We left. We were in Kuwait at Camp Victory. I think that's what it was called. Can't really remember.
Okay.
But
fly out of Victory.
No, we left there. We went to Ali Assalim, which was the big airport there in Kuwait. Left there.
Flying commercial now.
Yeah.
Okay.
We stopped in Frankfurt, Germany, for a refuel for the hop across the pond. Then we landed at JFK.
Oh, you went to JFK. Okay.
Yeah, this is in 2005. We stopped at JFK because we were going back to Cherry Point.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Good old French Creek, Courthouse Bay.
Okay.
But
you get home, some toddies hit American soil, and what happens?
I mean, you're a reservist. Your unit's in Cherry Point, so I mean, how's all that work?
What's that?
Yeah, I mean, not your unit, but I mean, you did all your training up in North Carolina and everything else. Was that just prior to your going over there?
Yeah, we did the workups in Courthouse Bay because that's where Second Tracks was.
Okay.
And at the time, AAVs were still in Iraq.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where they chose to do it.
Yeah, I mean, let's not do the training in 29 Palms, which is basically fucking Iraq. No.
Yeah.
Let's go to North Carolina because the climate's going to be so much more like Iraq. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't make sense, and not once did a Amtrak ever touch the water in Iraq. So they were basically tracked Humvees at that point because they were getting destroyed left and right. So, we came back.
Yeah.
We landed at JFK. They had to refuel, so we weren't. I don't know how long we were there. A couple hours, I think. And we finally reboard for the hop down to Cherry Point, and then from Cherry Point we stopped in French Creek to turn our weapons in at the armory, which they said the weapons would get sent out from French Creek to all of our different sites. Left there, and we knew our families were waiting because they had sent letters out a couple months in advance saying, to
expect the unit coming back home.
Yeah.
So
And
you
they
got everybody
said,
waiting for you in Louisiana for you to come back.
We got the party there. And Cherry Creek.
No. Families came up there to North Carolina.
Oh, that's
and met us.
awesome.
They were sitting there at the base when we got there.
So on the tarmac, on the runway.
Oh no, they were at the barracks.
Okay.
Their dime or government dime?
I don't know.
Oh,
I didn't ask.
That's definitely their dime. Definitely their dime.
I can guarantee you the government
I can
did not
guarantee
pay for
you
that.
it's their dime. I guarantee you.
Ain't nothing changed. Uncle Sonny come back from World War II from fighting MacArthur and had to get his own ride back from New York back to here to Louisiana. So nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Anyways,
no.
so you're back.
But what I thought was, and we had a big cookout, all kind of cool stuff. And when we got off the bus, I started laughing because they had a DJ and everything set up. The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy was playing as we were getting off the buses.
All right.
Which I thought was kind of cool. And then before we were released, because they were giving us 3 days, I think, with our family out in Jacksonville. And the brief before they released us, I still remember it because it was so damn funny. Our commanding officer, Major Kaufman, he goes, "I don't care if you're drunk as shit. As long as you can remain vertical, you will have your ass here in formation." He said, "I don't care if the guy next to you is physically holding you upright. You will be here." And yes, there was a lot of Marines showed up still drunk. And
of course.
I mean, tradition's tradition.
Tradition
That's
is
the way
tradition.
it works.
So how many days total are you in North Carolina before you actually get back? Headed back home? You driving or flying?
I want to say it was a week.
Okay.
I want to say it was about a week or so.
So is it good job? Is it you were a week there? Good job. Here's some food. Thanks for everything, and go home, or was it about a medical thing? What about hey, are you okay?
No,
saw a bunch of stuff.
No, it was.
Hey, come on now.
Sure
it was a week of gear turn in.
No, they didn't.
And all we would hear is, "Nope, not clean enough. Go back. Keep going."
Trying to get all the sand out of all your gear to turn it back in.
All I'm gonna say is, SIF gear is the devil. I hate all SIF gear people.
Well,
right?
The
now,
armory units are the same in the Army and Marines. I could tell you.
What's that?
The armory turn-in.
Oh no! Armory, we had ways of dealing with them. Yeah. And no lie, when we'd be dealing with weapons, we all kept about $100 cash on us because our armorers could be bribed. Like when I would go to slide my rifle into the window, I would start out with a $5 bill. I would start out low and go high, and usually before I got to a 20. They would go ahead and take it.
Yep.
Nice.
And they would clean it for us. But I had this one armor. Her name was Staff Sergeant Sweeney. You could not bribe her for nothing. Unless you were throwing around Benjamins.
That's it.
That's the only thing that you could bribe her with. $20, she'd laugh at you. Tell you, get out of here.
What I want to really do, Derrick, is get a great idea in my mind. And I know I asked you a moment ago about the week that you had in North Carolina. Your family was there. You came back. You guys are back together.
That was 3 days in addition to the week.
In addition to the week.
Yeah, well, so it was together. Almost 2 weeks, roughly,
your
total time.
Your family's there with you together. You're standing together. You got 2 weeks total time. And then what? Your command says, okay, you're dismissed, go home. And you're headed north and south, headed home. Nothing else to say to you? No check back-ins? No, are you doing? No clinic check-ins? No...
No, we got on.
How do you tone down? What are they doing to tone you down? Nothing?
Not a lot.
Nothing is the answer. I got nothing, but it's okay to say nothing.
Not a lot. I mean, I'm not going to say it was nothing, but it was like a step above nothing.
Right.
And I say a small step.
Don't shoot yourself. Don't shoot somebody else. Go get a job.
Don't do anything stupid like get yourself.
About an hour worth of class or something.
It don't end up in prison.
Yeah. I know that one very well. We talked about it in our last episode about my tone down and let the fizz off. That was the same.
So
thing
I know
in
you were
class.
telling me that you did a lot of time on active duty during your 6 years of a reservist stint. And I really want to jump into that on the next episode and try and figure out, what does life as a reservist kind of look like, or what's the vision they sell you on? I know what the recruiter told me it would look like, and then what's the reality of the fact that, hey, look, we want oil in the middle of a desert.
Yeah.
What are they expecting of you at that point? Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today. We will now have a moment of silence for our departed comrades and for those missing in action and those held as prisoners of war.